Good morning. Good morning. Look at me. Good evening, everyone. Be Healed Tuesday. It is a wonderful Be Healed Tuesday night. I am so excited that you all are joining us, those that are tuning in, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or even on Twitch. So happy to have you. I have a few housekeepings. Of course, I'm your host, Camille R. Perry. We are excited about launching into our new series. For the next 8 or 9 weeks or so, we're going to be dealing with the power of vulnerability, and I'm so excited. This is something that happened. We started it last year, and it was a beautiful experience. We talked to 8 different men last year, and they discussed various aspects of their lives, from relationships to identity to therapy and processing issues. I mean, it was good. And this particular focus, I shared with the men, we're looking at faith, family, failure, and finances. You know, just to, if they didn't have a story of their own just yet, they can pick from one of those categories. And so many of the men that we reached out to who responded back, some of them already had their topics. They knew exactly what they wanted to share. They knew how they wanted to present their life and how they wanted to allow this time for them to be vulnerable and transparent and to share. And I am excited about it. I know if you tune in these next few weeks, all month of October, all the month of November, you will not be dismayed or disappointed in any such way. So on tonight, to kick us off, it's only fitting. I mean, we are in football season. We are, it's only right to have him kick us off because he is a former NFL player. But most importantly, he is a friend. He is technically I'm a big sister, brother of mine. He's a tenured professor at Mount San Jacinto College, where we both work. He is Dr. Darnell Bing. He's a father of 2 beautiful girls, a husband to a wonderful wife, Miss Bing. I'm just so excited to have him with us. And I'm going to share a little bit of his bio just so you can know a little bit about him, okay? So here's a few things that you need to know. Not only has he been in education for the past 5 years, and he's serving as a tenured, y'all hear that, tenured professor of counseling and an emoji coordinator at Mount San Jacinto College in the beautiful city of Menifee, California. But prior to that, when he was in the NFL for about those 5 years, he knew retiring from the NFL, there was some unfinished business he needed to go back to do. He needed to go back and do. So when he was a junior at USC, he left college and went into the NFL. He knew that he had to find his identity that was outside of athletics. Who is Darnell Bing post being number 52 and 46 on the various teams that he ran through? So the reality of it for him to know that was huge. So after a year of some alone time and traveling and experience different things to help him identify who he is and who he will yet be, he went on back to USC, completed his baccalaureate degree, went in and continued in education, got his master's degree. Not only that, like I said, he is Dr. Darnell Bing. And so I'm so excited that not only does he consult students that are actively engaged in various sports and areas of life, but he reaches back into his community, native of Long Beach, California, Compton, California. And I'm excited. I'm just going to bring him in, okay? Because his title tonight was Loosen Up Tough Guy. Okay, so I'm just going to bring him in. Y'all can drop in some chats and some hearts, hit subscribe, share this if you're on Facebook, and let somebody know that Dr. Bing is joining us on tonight. Let's welcome him to Be Healed Webshow. Hey, bro, how you doing, Dr.
What's happening? What's happening? Come on now. You know you don't have to do all the doctor stuff. So, we better than that.
Listen, not a problem, but you paid for them letters, okay? Them letters matter.
Indeed. True indeed.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for agreeing to being a part and kicking us off right. We're going to kind of just jump right in. Your title is Loosen Up, Tough Guy. Loosen Up, Tough Guy. Tell me what that is all about.
Ooh, okay. So in order for me to explain that, I'd have to do a little storytelling for you to
Okay.
have a better idea of what I mean by that.
Okay.
So let's see. Let me go all the way back first. Um, for me, I would have to tell you that the first time that I have actually cried in public since elementary school was when my cousin, little Willie, was killed, and that was in 2004. I was a sophomore in college at this time, right? So this was the first time that I've ever cried in public uh, since like elementary.
Wow.
Uh, and after that experience of crying, because I got the phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning from my little cousin, who I consider my sister, which is his sister. She called me and told me what happened. I broke down in front of some of my buddies throughout that whole experience of hearing what took place. And the next time I cried in public was at his funeral when I was trying to give a speech. Uh, from that day, it was, you know, I'm
Yeah.
I'm that guy. I'm back to being who I am, and back to holding down the line and just being a strong man. Um, however, it wasn't until 2012, I want to say,
Okay.
I'm in church and the praise team is singing "Break Every Chain."
Okay.
Man, I tell you that I just buckled down, buckled down, and the big old crocodile tears, and big old ugly tears.
Oh yes. Oh
and,
yes.
and it's as a man, you don't want to be a man. You don't want to be a man crying in church in front of everybody. But you know what? I allowed that experience, and I allowed God to move me in a way to where um, I just got up and took my victory laps around
Come
the
on, victory
congregation,
laps.
and I allowed that moment to move me, um,
Mhm.
and from that point on, I was able to be more open to allowing myself to be
Mhm.
vulnerable in certain situations.
Yeah.
Um, and as you mentioned in the bio, I went back and finished my degree. Uh,
Yes.
at it was like a few months after me breaking down in church that I actually sat down with one of my good buddies and told him, "So you know what, man, I'm gonna go back to church." And I did that, and I was able to complete the degree and continue to move up that ladder and to get into where I am today.
Okay.
Um, the loosen up tough guy is me being okay and accepting the fact that I know I have my flaws,
Okay.
but I also know that I don't have to be that tough guy at all times.
Mm.
And I
Okay.
also know that sometimes when I am open and allowing people to understand who I am as a man, as an individual, as a father, as a child of God, all of those things, it's only going to allow me to touch the souls of other individuals.
All right.
But at the same time, it's only going to allow me to reap the benefits of some additional resources that somebody else may have for me.
Okay.
So if I remain tough at all times and don't allow myself to be vulnerable in certain situations,
Mhm.
how do I allow myself to connect with certain people? Or how do I allow myself to put myself in position to gain those additional resources?
That's a fair point.
So I say loosen up, tough guy, because being a man is not only about being tough and being that strong individual.
Mm-hmm.
There's many things that's associated with being a man or being a tough guy. You know, I can tell you right now that if anything was to happen to my kids, you're going to see me cry. If anything was to happen to my mom or any of my family members, you're going to see me cry because of the fact that that's my heart.
Right.
Um, so I'm tough,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that I don't always have to be tough.
Yeah.
There are many things there are many situations that will allow me to grow
Mm-hmm.
as a man if I understand the fact that I don't have to be tough at all times.
I want to pause for a second if you don't mind.
Hmm.
Because you said "Break Every Chain" is your song, so I'm pretty sure you have that on repeat while you're commuting in your car, like, "Oh God, break every chain," which is awesome. A couple things that I'm hearing you say, going back, is that the first time you cried publicly was at the passing of your cousin, learning of the passing of your cousin, and then at the service. Let's kind of go back to where you felt that being tough was instilled in you, because let's be honest, we're a product of learned behavior.
Absolutely.
Like nothing, we
Absolutely.
don't come out the womb. Yes, we come out the womb with a personality, yes, but we are fitted and and contoured, right,
Yeah.
by our experiences and who's in our life. So where did that toughness come from in the first place?
So I'm the youngest of three.
Okay.
My mom has all boys. So
Oh, go ahead, Mom.
yeah, yeah, we ran her through it. So that tough guy was instilled in me at an early age. Um, Mom held it down,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I don't know if I was the baddest of the three because I was the youngest and I had two older brothers to look up to. Um, and I kind of watched how they maneuvered and did certain things, and I tried to outdo them, so to speak. But the loosen up tough guy, I mean, the tough mentality came from getting whoopings on a regular basis and being told, "Stop crying before I give you something to cry about."
Mm.
It's like, hey man, why you think I'm crying to begin with? Because you gave me
Right.
something to cry about. This
Right.
whooping does not feel good. And it
Yeah.
wasn't always with a belt. My mom used to have a paddle that was about that thick,
Come on,
like a
I'm
fraternity
familiar.
paddle. So
Yeah.
to get hit with something like that on a regular basis,
Hmm.
and I say a regular basis because I was a very bad child. Not anymore. Things have changed. Uh,
Okay.
but to get hit with something like that and to be told, stop crying before I give you something to cry about.
Mm.
That having to hear that all the time, having to stop myself from crying as I'm getting these whoopings, that's
Mhm.
one thing. Um, Another thing,
Mhm.
having two older brothers.
Yeah.
I had to fight them.
Hmm.
And sometimes, in certain cases, because of the fact that they're older, but they're not like super, super older than me.
Hmm.
In certain cases, when I wanted to hang out with them, it was like, okay, well, you got to go fight him first. I was like,
Mm.
wait a minute, but that's your buddy. He
Right.
your age. So, it was just a lot of different things that transpired to that tough guy mentality. Um, that yeah, that just stuck with me. Uh, and then I can also use another example, and that was when the first time I've ever started playing football. I
Oh.
remember this day like it was yesterday. First time I've ever played football. I've done a lot of running around the streets and getting into fights and all of that stuff. But that hit from playing football was completely different.
Mm.
That
I can.
was a unexpected hit. Um, a pain that I never thought I would feel. And I remember the kid's name, Eddie Starr. We were at practice, and we were meant to. It was a hitting practice. It was a hitting drill. I ran towards him, and he hit me dead smack in my stomach.
Oof.
And I fell on the ground and rolled over. And my uncle was the coach. And what does he say?
Toughen up.
Get up and stop crying. Get up and stop crying and do it again. So, just constantly hearing things like that, not allowing me to actually just be in the moment of crying and having to toughen up. That's where that mentality came from.
So it kind of, what I'm hearing is that it very much stunts the emotional intelligence, that growth opportunity that we all need. It stunts that and causes it to be more callous. So the areas that should be smooth and recognizable, I would imagine that so goes the desire of you crying, so goes the availability for empathy when things do happen. So, if your wife comes in from a long day at work or something, happens, you're like, oh, wow, that sucks. like really? Like
Yeah.
that's your response? That's, and so I could imagine one of my sorrows. She asked the question when you were mentioning about the paddling, and this is something I think we as African Americans specifically. I can't speak about other cultures, but growing up as in a African American home, paddling and that statement, or even whoopings and spankings in general, stop crying before I give you something to cry about. The question is then asked, is that considered abuse? Right? And like growing up, we knew good and well, no, you don't call the police on your mom and daddy.
Right.
Then when they get out, you won't have a place to live. But looking at it, because again, times have changed. Correction and discipline is still needed, like never before. But is there a proper way of handling that would keep us from reaching this point? Is there a way that we can still discipline without getting to this point?
I can only speak for myself when I say this.
Okay.
Looking back at it all now, how I was disciplined was probably best for me.
I agree with that.
Given my situation. Like I literally was into something like almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
I was really just a bad kid. And I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of reasons behind it that I was unable to identify at that point in time. I mean, I kind of know some of the reasons now, but I needed something to kind of help me get on the right track. And I probably did not get on the right track right then and there, but I eventually did. And I was able to recognize the reasonings why I was getting these whoopings and make the necessary changes. So for me, I would have to say that it was beneficial for me and my upbringing.
Absolutely.
In today's world, I don't want to. Well, I'm gonna just say, in today's world, a lot of these young individuals are much softer than we were when we grew up. So that will definitely be considered abuse in today's world, because I don't know what's happening, and I'm not judging anybody on how they're raising their kids or anything like that. But we have these individuals are just much softer than we were, and I'm quite sure the people before us will say the same thing about us. Like,
oh yeah,
because they endured more things than we did as well. So I guess it's just the time of it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I like your statement, because I still say this, because I'll own it. I definitely was more disciplined than my sister was. I am the youngest child. My father stands behind the statement that it's always the youngest kid, right? And I'm like, but Dad, you're the youngest kid too. Like, what about you? But I do believe that um, for me, the correction, the discipline that I received, it benefited my life tremendously. You know, I would never ascribe, abuse or anything like that because it was warranted and needed for correction. I do, to your point, this the generation after us, immediately after us, and since then, they have definitely, like the Bible says, they grow wiser but weaker. They have more technology at their fingertips. You have like little 2-year-old children knowing how to navigate on YouTube, can't read, can't necessarily write, but can navigate electronic device. But let someone say something about anything, they fall all apart. Right? And we grew up playing the dozens, with one another, with our family. If you got clowned at the family, that just made you tough for the next time you came around, But again, when we're looking at this whole portion about loosening up tough guy and looking at your life, we do see areas where it was mishandled, right? It was unbridled. It was not cultivated properly, where it could have been said, like, after you got that hit, hey, go ahead and cry that out, but I need you to get back on the field. Okay? I know it hurt. It looked like it hurt. Okay? Ice it and get back out here. You know what I mean? Like maybe even something that small could have made a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into everything else. You have this, because you said you took a victory lap. I mean, way before Nipsey Hussle wrote about it, right?
Right.
You're taking victory laps in the church. You're like, hey, glory. So, because my thing, I'm like, you used to play football, so nobody could really hold you. You was just, they just let you run. You get to this place, tears begin to fall. You're rejoicing and you're feeling, what are you feeling post that? What has been your journey since that time?
Ooh, so that question just kind of gave me the chills. It's for good reasoning. So after that, as I shared, I had a conversation with one of my buddies, and I shared with him, say, bro, my next step is me going back to finish my degree. Boom, did that. My buddy here called me today. Actually, he called me last week, and just to tell me again how proud of me he is. And he goes, man, I still remember back then you told me in church you're just gonna go back to go get your degree, and now look, 8 years later, you got 3 degrees, you married and got 2 beautiful kids.
That's
So
it.
from that point on, I knew that I had to start making some changes in my life. I went back to school, got the degree. The next thing I wanted to do was start focusing on my relationship with my significant other. So I took that leap of faith, and there again, I was very vulnerable in how I presented this to her, and I shared with her, this is me and you having a honest truth conversation. I love you. Nothing, like, you can't question that. But what I need for you to do is to help me. I need you to teach me how to love, because I don't know how to love.
That's good.
I said, across the board, on my mom and my dad's side. My mom has 5 sisters. My dad has 1, 2, 5 or 6 siblings. Across the board, of all of those, there's only been one marriage that continued. Everyone else has been married and divorced. I only have one uncle and aunt that has been married. No breaks, no nothing since the time that I was a child.
Mhm.
So I said, all I know is separation and divorce. I don't know what true love looks like.
Wow.
You have that background. Your parents, we're getting ready to celebrate her parents' 40th anniversary this weekend. So I said,
Congratulations.
I need you to teach me how to love and how to love you because I don't know what it looks like. I know that I love you, but I don't know what I need to do to actually show you that I love
Mm,
you. And I'm still a work in progress. Um, I still have a hard time just coming out and saying it,
mhm,
but we always go back to the fact that we had this conversation to begin with. So she
mhm,
knows that I'm still a work in progress. Um, uh, but to answer your question, how was I feeling once I had that victory lap?
mhm,
It was I now can take this extra weight off of my back of
mm.
having to feel like I have to wear this mask at all times and be the strong, tough guy.
Yeah.
I know that there is something much deeper in in allowing myself to be vulnerable in certain situations. Um, because at that very moment when I was in church and I started breaking down, a lot of the men that was in the church who I respect was
Mhm.
right there with me as they started to see me breaking down and walking and taking my victory lap. So we had a lot of men that supported me through that process and
Mhm.
helping me recover and helping me bring all of that information and accept the fact that I was where I was at that point in time. And the reason why it hit me so hard, the reason why the song hit me so hard is because I was thinking of my cousin.
Mm. Okay.
I was thinking of him and how he has been and how he was murdered
Mm.
and all the things that transpired afterwards. Like when he was
Mm.
killed, I got, oh Darnell, I heard you was shot and killed. Oh Darnell, that was your fault. Oh
Mm.
Darnell, that should have been you. Like I
Wow.
had so many people telling me so many things on how
Wow.
my cousin's passing was my fault or people assumed that it was me. So to have my cousin, my best friend who was like my brother be
Mhm.
murdered and having to deal with that, I also had to deal with the fact that certain individuals were telling me that one, it was my fault, and two, they thought it was me, and just all these different things that played a big role in it. So
Yeah. Wow. I mean, those are things that you see in movies, right?
right,
You see those. I mean, I'm trying to think, when you're looking at Boys in the Hood, you're looking at the various movies of anything that John Singleton wrote. There was always that portion where there was a blame a person for this
hmm
and what that yoke being loaded on that person, that burden would do, would drive people to various extremes. And here you're saying that in that moment, in that safe space of where Christ met you, right? You were thirsty. He's that living water. He met you right there and told you, that's it. Those chains are gone. It's broken. It's off. And immediately in my head, I keep hearing Romans 8:1. There is therefore now no condemnation to them that are in Christ Jesus. Who walk not after the flesh but after the Spirit. That you can't be condemned for something
yeah,
that one we don't even know the reasons.
hmm
The various portion that goes into that. And it's a sad situation of how much words that are spoken
Mhm.
over people can damage so greatly for generations. You had some damaging moments because you were told to toughen up. So you got a
Right.
little callous along the way. Then you're being told, in fact, that you're guilty of something that you had no charge over. And now it's to a point where the words that you were told all those times, it even affects you in your relationship with your wife. Wow. That's huge. I think this is where we as people have to stop and consider what comes out of our mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. You know, as a counselor, I do know that I am aware of the fact that I too should seek counseling. At this point in time, I'm currently not seeking professional counseling, but I do get counseling from my brothers in Christ, um, and that's on a regular basis. Uh, so, and these folks, they help me out in many ways, uh, and these folks are also the same folks that was there to lift me up when I went through that experience at the church of hearing the song "Break Every Chain," and it was crazy because I've heard the song
Right.
many times before. You know, up there listening to the song in church and singing along, but something about this day,
Just hit different.
it just hit different. And you know what? I want to say it was because of the fact that I was not with my boys that I
Mm,
was going to church with on a regular basis.
mhm.
I happened to be at church this day by myself,
Okay.
and not with. It was two other guys that I used to go to church with on a regular basis. We would all drive together to church, but I went to church on this day by myself. So I think because of the fact that I was there by myself, I didn't have an opportunity to be that tough guy again.
Right.
So I couldn't mask that.
Mhm.
Uh, I didn't have to mask it because they were not there.
Right.
Uh, but you know, they heard about it because of the fact that afterwards talked to them about it and we spoke about it. And even with that, that even led to us going to go and get baptized. So it was so many things that transpired after that that has been for the greater good. And let me step back really quick. I want to tell you something on how I even got to church.
Okay. Go for it.
So I was not raised in the church, none of that. Knew of God, believed in God, never had touched the Bible. Uh, my my grandma had bought me a Bible many years ago and told me, "You make sure you read Psalms 91."
Yes.
Okay, Granny, but that was it. That was it. Uh, I tried church when I had first got to college with one
Mhm.
of my buddies, and it just didn't feel right. You know, the experience wasn't the experience I was looking for. I got there. It was like, oh, Darnell, come over here. Darnell, come over here. Darnell, we want to bring you to the front. Darnell, where Darnell? I was like, I didn't want to do all that. I mean, you know me. I'm one of those laid back guys. I like to be in the back. I don't want to be highlighted or anything like that. But
Mhm.
2011, I want to say, one of my young buddies, like my little brother, this guy, he actually called me one night and was like, they call me Fats at home and
Oh,
other areas. They call me Fats. He go, Fats, I wanna, I'm going to church in the morning. You should go to church with me.
okay.
Now, I said, bro, if you going to church, Like if you going to church, I have to go to church with you. And I say this because, and I'm being 100% honest with you. This dude that I'm referring to, street guy, done some things, and to hear him bring that to me,
Right.
I was like, there has to be something. So went to church with him. As soon as we walk up, one of the guys in the front was like, "Man, I know you. I know you from somewhere." And I'm out the league, and I didn't have some things happen in the streets before, so I'm like, okay, what we talking about? Like, what's up? So I'm already defensive and stuff. But he goes, "You Darnell Bing, man, nice to see you here, brother." And that was it. And I was like, okay, I
Okay.
can take that. Go to the next guy. "Darnell Bing, what's up, man? Woo, woo, woo. Nice to see you here, brother." Okay, like I can dig this. Like I'm a regular person here.
Yeah.
Like I'm a regular person here. Um, and then going in and hearing the pastor preach, and hearing how he talked to us, and how he just shared the word with us. I was like, man, this is where I'm meant to be. And there is something here for me. So I just made it. I just made. I just dedicated myself to attending church and learning more and more and reading the Bible and going to those Bible studies and the man Bible studies. Like I literally used to be. So I live in Riverside. I've been in Riverside for the last 12 years. I would
Mhm.
drive down to Compton every Sunday, every Thursday, and every Friday for
Wow.
church. So
Wow.
I knew when I got there that there was something there for me, and I would intentionally make that drive on a regular basis to go and get what they was providing me with, uh, to eventually allow me to be the man that I am today. And this church is where I found my brothers in Christ. Uh, I built on my relationship with God, and with that, I have also been able to identify man that are men that are vulnerable, men that understand the importance of family, men
Yeah.
that understand the importance of relationships, and men that are 100% open to sharing and giving a young man like myself as much advice as possible to
Yeah.
allow me to be a better man for my wife and for my kids.
Yes. That's huge. Okay. So a couple of things that I'm hearing there: the power and strength of community, the necessary and very much essential need that men have within the brotherhood, that fraternal bond. No, you might not have different, letters, Greek letters on you just yet, because I know we talked about this. Um, but the letters that you have on you is that you're a son of God.
Absolutely.
That you are his child, you are a kingdom kid, right? Kingdom man. And you're growing in that, growing in grace. And what you said is something that my father's very passionate about, and the men at the church, that I fellowship, my father's church, is that we push and promote for men to find that tribe where they can thrive and grow. As women, it's very easy. I put on women's conferences. I have so many different girlfriends who are involved in various women ministry. It's easy for women to get together, but there's always been a pull and a tug for men to want to have that, to sit down. If it's not a game on, if it's not, somebody cooking or barbecuing, just to talk,
Yeah.
have having that vulnerability, even in a group setting. When I first started doing this series, and I asked the men about power of vulnerability. They're like, "You want me to talk? Like about what? About you? Why?
That's the
What I
same thing I said to you.
I know I'm quoting you. I'm like, you're one of those men. Why? What did I do? What's wrong? So, I think this is, and then as you're sharing and seeing just even your heart speak and it radiating and permeate even on your facial expressions, this is what we need because somebody's watching, some man, some young boy is watching, and they're seeing like, okay, he's been in the league, and most individuals don't make it to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Combines, how many times have we seen that over and over that folks don't make it past combine? Or they get in the league and they're instantly hurt or red line, whatever might happen, and then they're back home, right? So you already hit a mile. How many Black men make it out of the inner city, right? That's not always a commonality. And then to be able to accomplish the things that you have accomplished, and you're giving all credit to God because you know it was nothing but Him.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's big.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll even take it one step further in terms of the folks that even have that opportunity or that luxury of playing in the NFL. Even if you do get a good amount of years in and make all the money in the world, once you're done playing, it hits hard because most times we are young individuals that have been playing this sport for so long, and we've been praised for playing this sport for so long, and now the sport is no longer there.
Right.
Therefore, the praise is no longer there.
Mm.
And now it's like, how do I get back to where I was and be happy when what I was happy with and what I loved is no longer there?
Wow.
So to see someone deal with that, and I've lost a lot of brothers uh, in the recent years that has played football due to many things. Uh, but for me to see somebody go through that struggle of trying to be praised again for something that they have done, and their only thought is to continue to make efforts to go back to the sport, it hurts my heart
Yeah.
because of the fact that oftentimes when you're done, you're done. Not everybody gets the Tim Tebow chance to where they
Right.
get to go back and try out after not playing for 5 or 6 years. That doesn't happen on a regular basis. Um, but to see my brothers deal with trying to find that identity or trying to find that praise again, it hurts.
Yeah.
And it hurts me so much because of the fact that one, I went through it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But two, it hurts me even more because when I finally had a better understanding of who I was and what I wanted to do next, I had a conversation with one of my brothers who was still struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And I expressed to him that I love him and I want to see him do something and I want to see him be great again.
Mm-hmm.
And not to steal my man's quote,
Right.
to
Right.
be great again.
Mm-hmm.
But his response to me was, "You have to be an arrogant Negro to sit here and tell me what I need to do."
Mm.
And I said, "Wow, bro, I'm really sitting here trying to be real with you, and you think that I'm coming at you
Yeah.
in arrogance? Like I'm telling you that I love you, and I see what you're going through.
Yeah.
Like you're almost homeless,
Mm.
and every day you're sitting here working out, and making videos, trying to get back to the league when you could be doing different things to allow you to grow in another area and be successful.
Yeah.
So to see my brothers go through that, it hurts my heart because we know that NFL stands for not for long, but we
Oh,
don't accept the fact that it stands for not for long, or we
mm,
don't accept or we don't think that it applies to us oftentimes.
right, right, right.
Um, so to see, and oftentimes it's young brothers like myself
Mm,
who struggle more often than not. Um, it hurts my heart to see them struggle, but
mm,
I also am upset at
yeah.
other individuals, such as the NCAA,
Mm,
such as the NFL. The
mm,
NFL is doing a better job at providing resources, but the NCAA, like, where is the support? Where are these programs to help these
yeah,
young individuals with their transition?
yeah.
Every institution is supposed to have one, according to NCAA, but many institutions have it on paper, but it
But
is not actually implemented in practice. Right. So to continue to see millions of dollars being made off the blood, sweat, and tears of my young brothers and
mm,
sisters as well,
mm,
um, and they don't get any reward from it, it hurts me. I
yeah.
know the NCAA will turn around and tell me that they passed this new law to where you can make money now,
Mm,
but they were very smooth with that. And what I
mm,
mean by that is, yes, you can now sign a contract to make money,
mm.
but not every kid is going to get that opportunity.
Not no. That yeah.
And
You're
even
just bringing the ceiling down,
yes,
lowering the ceiling. Not everyone will still hit it because as you're lowering the ceiling, you also kind of drop the floor a little bit,
hmm,
where those that were, they were good in little league or in the
right,
Warner or in the JV. They were good. They were even pretty good at varsity, but they they don't hit it on the college scene the same. So then now it's, do I take something performance enhancing to make myself hit it? Right. And then it's, all these things that become layered in to try to find success. But like you said, people not knowing how to repurpose
hmm,
their purpose in life. That yes, you were, you played in the league. Yes, you might have got cut, etc. But there's still life in you.
hmm,
You're not just deduced or reduced down to just being an athlete. You're
yeah,
not just, the star quarterback, cornerback, running back with all the different backs that they got. Um, you know, you're more than that. And I think that your experience
hmm,
in all of this firsthand, as well as having the connections, there is a platform, there
yeah,
is a need for you to continue to share and grow to
indeed,
help someone
indeed,
else out. Yeah.
indeed. And I'm working on something. It ain't fully flushed out yet, but I'm working on something. I'll tell you this much too. Looking back at it now, and I recognized this a few years ago. Looking back at it, God has been working on me way before I knew that He was working on me.
Oh yes.
And
Oh.
I say that because for whatever reason, high school, Fridays, everybody wear their jerseys, football
Hmm.
players. I never wore my jersey on Fridays.
Mm.
In college, everybody pretty much wears they're like their gear that they're given to show
Mm.
that they're part of a team. No, I always got dressed. I never wore my SC stuff to school. Like if you were to see me, you would be like, "Why is this thug here on campus?" Like And I say that because I used to have my fat Rolex chain on. I had 2 cell phones. You know, I
You
used to
did send
get
me your Pimp RS picture, and I was
see.
like, sir, what in the pimp named Slickback is this? What?
But yeah, I never like really took the sport with me when I was not on the field.
Yeah.
Um, it was nothing I ever really advertised. If I was out in the streets and somebody asked me what I did, I would tell them I was in real estate or something. Um, like for whatever reason, God knows what He was doing with me. But me going around telling people that I was an athlete was something that I never did.
Hmm.
So my transition phase was a little easier than some,
Right.
yet it was still hard,
Right.
but it was a little easier because I didn't follow suit with how other people view themselves.
You didn't let
I
that be
didn't.
your identity.
I did not let that be my identity.
Yeah.
No. Um, but now we have so many people that's just on social media doing all type of stuff, and I am football, or I am basketball. It's like, come on, bro, we got to pipe that down a little bit.
Right.
Uh, but I'm just thankful for the opportunities that I've had, and thankful that God continued to have His hand on my shoulder and continuing to direct me. Because now, because of my experiences, um, I am able to go back and touch people and help them navigate their ways. One thing that I have been in contact, or one thing that I am currently trying to do right now, I'm working with one of my other sisters who works at USC at the moment. I'm trying to go over there and teach a course for the athletes.
Yeah.
That'll be like a well, it's kind of like what we have in the college success course, uh,
Yeah. Hmm.
but really just teaching them the life skills and all of that stuff. And my approach to it is just completely different from a general lecture because we gonna talk.
Right.
We're gonna talk, and you're gonna have to be
Yeah.
engaging, and you're gonna have to come up with things that are outside of the sport. Uh, so that's one of the things that I'm currently trying to do. Hopefully, we'll be able to get that in the works for this upcoming semester. But there are some other things that I am also working on. And then there is one big vision that God has given me that will hopefully change the trajectory of the entire community of
Yeah.
where I come from. So I'm just going to continue to pray on that and continue to write the
Yes.
plan out and
That's
allow
it.
everything to manifest itself and move forward. But I,
Yeah.
I don't want to cut that off. I think we need to get back to being vulnerable because I think I may have taken you on another path for a brief moment.
That's okay because when vulnerability happens, we flow. I've been working with you for over a year now, and
Yeah,
this is probably the most you have talked.
it is, right?
Right. And I've learned more about you in this moment. And you already gave us a little bit some things that you have coming up. And as we're getting ready to wrap up, I just want to kind of share with you some of the things that's been happening in the comments because folks have been tuned in tonight. So I call her Mama too, but her name is Dolores Jackson. She says that she's so sorry that you had to deal with people trying to make you feel guilty as you were grieving the loss of your cousin. But Christ will break every chain, and the fact that He has done that in your life is so excellent.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
some folks that have tuned in, and one of the I think you already hit on this question, but Cassandra asked, when did you feel as a man that you could have a soft side and still be considered a man? Do you want to hit on that? If you maybe address that?
Yeah, to answer that question, it was at that point in time when I was in church and that song came on, Break Every Chain came on, and I just broke down. I had to go through some things in order to recognize what a man really was.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is I had to go through that experience of breaking down and crying in front of public to allow man to come in, tap in with me and help me understand where I was and where I could go, and break down the fact that, hey man, it's okay to cry. Men do cry.
Yeah.
Like men do cry. So having that experience and seeing people uh, come and just share their experience of what they've been through and lift me back up, allow me to see that it is okay for me as a man to cry. And if
Absolutely.
somebody got a problem with that, then we can. But no, but in all seriousness, it is completely okay for a man to cry. And if we say that a man is not able to cry, or a man is soft because he's crying, then we're just continuing the stereotypes of these false images of man.
Yeah.
If you want a man that ain't gonna cry, then more than likely you just need somebody that's gonna just be outright dirty
Yeah.
and the dog. And not to say it like that, but yeah,
That's
he's
what
gonna
it
have to, yeah, you know, and I'm okay with crying, because I know that at the end of the day, after I get these tears out, I know that my soul is gonna be good, and I'm gonna continue to move forward.
That's
And
right.
again, if somebody has an issue or laughing at me for crying, then I can bet that
Yeah.
that person, when they by themselves, they probably crying too. They just don't want nobody to see it.
Right. Right.
So,
I totally agree with that. I was what you were saying that I was like, oh my gosh, great men cry. I mean, let's look at it. We've had when we seen that tear that Denzel Washington did in Glory, right? That infamous tear that ran down. Or if we look back in, the times that we might have been watching The Lion King or listening to Frozen,
right,
whatever it
right,
might be, our children being born. There's been, but I mean, let's just take it to the greatest man himself, Jesus Christ, the Son of the
hmm,
living God. He cried and made no qualms about it. So
absolutely,
if we say that we want to be like Christ, we got to be in that thing
got to be in it.
and
Got to
being
be in it.
vulnerable, being tearful, being joyful, being whatever that emotion. And even, look, we seen him in John 2 flipping over tables and whipping folks out the temple. So, we know Jesus wasn't no punk. You know what I mean? So, but just as much as he showed that emotion, so should we be tapped in
Yeah,
and understand that tears are refreshing, because he said he'll give us beauty for ashes, and he's told us that he'll give us joy, give us oil of joy for our spirit of heaviness, and so in a garment of praise. So like he tells us these things. So I'm grateful that you stopped by tonight and you shared with us how you've been able to loosen up. I still see you as a strong man, and I think you're even stronger because you are tapped in to the
yeah,
source
yeah.
of your strength, right? And you're able to love
Indeed,
your wife,
indeed.
love those beautiful girls, and show them that you are not, it's going to be different. It's not just going to be auntie and uncle, great auntie and uncle that had a long-standing relationship, or grandpa and grandma on mommy's side, but mom and dad are going to go
Yep,
the distance. And I seen dad
absolutely,
cry. I seen
absolutely.
dad I seen him get teared up when he was watching that he was watching Luca. I seen it, so, all of those things are so necessary. So I appreciate you stopping by, Dr. Bing, my baby brother. Even though you're taller than me, you're still my baby brother. But thank you so much for tuning in. And
No, thank you.
I believe this is your family. It says real strong men cry for many reasons, good and bad. That is so true. And
Yeah,
so,
that would have to be my pops. That's the only Darnell Bing I know
okay, so
outside
that's
of myself.
senior Bing. All right, all right.
Yeah,
Well, it's so good. And so, for all of you that tuned in tonight, that jumped in the comments, that tweeted, that shared, that reposted, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please join us on next week, same time, same Be Healed channel, where we're going to have another gentleman in the Be Healed Power Vulnerability seat. Jonathan Wright is going to share on his story, his evolution story on how coming from fatherhood and going through that whole life story of having a son, and the different things that took place in that relationship. And so I hope you all tune in. It's going to be great. I've been encouraged. Thank you, Dr. Bing. We pray that God continues to widen your coast and enlarge your territory, because I know the best is still yet to come. For those who would like to share here on Be Healed Web Show, feel free to email me at behealedwebshow@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you. So until next time, may God bless you. May God keep you. May you continue to do great and mighty things, because again, God has given you a pulse, because you're part of his plan. Therefore, you have a purpose and you must execute that thing well. So God bless you. May God keep you. And we'll see you all next week. Darnell, hang out with me for a little bit. All right. See you all.
Indeed.